I came home from a work trip to find the locks on my house changed. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my wife, Vivian. "I found someone better. Don't bother trying to come in. I've moved on." She sent it from my own couch while watching me through the security camera. I stared at the screen, took a deep breath, and smiled. Then I typed, "Are you sure about that?" and walked away. 4 days earlier, something had felt off. We'd been married 8 years. I was on a 2-week business trip to Seattle. Huge opportunity, big project. Vivian had been nothing but supportive before I left. "Go knock their socks off," she'd said. But over time, her texts got shorter. Her calls felt rushed. She stopped asking about my day. When I shared wins from the trip, her replies were dull, emotionless. "Just tired from work," she said. I knew better. I'd helped build her career from the ground up. She didn't know how much I'd actually invested in it, not just emotionally, but financially. We'll get to that. The first real red flag came 3 days before I returned. We were on a video call, and I heard male laughter in the background. When I asked about it, she immediately said, "Oh, just the TV." But I knew that wasn't true. I'd installed the soundbar myself. This wasn't a TV voice. It was someone in the room. She ended the call quickly, claiming a headache. I landed at 2 p.m. Thursday, sent her a quick, "just landed" text. No reply. That was weird. Vivian always replied, within minutes. During the Uber ride home, I noticed her location sharing had been turned off on our family plan. Even stranger, her Instagram stories showed our living room, but from angles she'd never used before. When I got to the door, my key didn't fit. At first I thought it was stuck. Then it hit me. The lock was new. I stood there, suitcase in hand, trying to process what I was seeing. That's when her text came through. "I found someone better. Don't bother trying to come in. I've moved on." The timestamp told me she was watching me through the camera, sitting on my couch. I stared at the message, then slowly typed, "Are you sure about that?" and walked away. No drama, no yelling, no door pounding. Just the sound of her typing, stopping, typing again. She didn't know what was coming. I checked into a hotel nearby and called my friend Daman. Within an hour, he had the full picture. Vivian had been seeing someone named Ezekiel, a client, from her firm. They'd been spotted out together over the past month. But here's where it gets interesting. Ezekiel had a history of dating married women, especially women on the rise in their careers. He'd done this before. While Daman filled me in, I logged into our shared cloud storage. Vivian's not tech-savvy. She never changed the passwords I'd set up. There they were, photos of her and Ezekiel in our home, dating back 3 weeks, but she'd forgotten something in her rush to replace me. Another buzz. "Vivian, you're taking this better than I expected. No fight? Guess I was right about finding someone better." I just smiled. I had found the document. Last year, I helped Vivian set up her investment portfolio. What she forgot was that I provided most of the capital. The agreement we both signed stated that in the event of separation, certain investments would be liquidated immediately. I took a screenshot and sent it to my lawyer. Then I replied, "Give me 4 days." Her response came fast. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my laptop and started typing an email to some old colleagues. By midnight, I had a plan in motion. Tomorrow, the real consequences begin. For now, I'm enjoying the flood of messages as Vivian tries to figure out what I know. And the best part? She has no idea that the comfortable life she's enjoying right now, with him on my couch, was built on a foundation she's about to shatter. Let her enjoy her better choice. In 4 days, she'll learn what that decision really cost. Update. 24 hours. Later, first. Thank you for all the support. Your messages kept me focused. Now let's talk about what happened since then. Remember that investment document? The one Vivian forgot about? Well, I didn't just help her invest. I funded the whole thing. And the clause she overlooked? It states that in the event of separation, especially one initiated under infidelity, the portfolio must be dissolved and all liquidated assets returned to the original investor. That's me. But that's not what made her panic. Last night, Vivian's sister Sophia called me. She was in tears. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Vivian's sister Sophia called me. She was crying. Ezekiel's done this before, Hunter, she said. 3 times. He targets women like Vivian, uses their connections, then vanishes once he gets what he wants. I already knew about Ezekiel's pattern. But Sophia had details I hadn't uncovered. She sent screenshots of conversations between Vivian and Ezekiel from 2 months ago. They weren't just planning their affair. They were using confidential information I had once shared with Vivian about my company's upcoming projects to position themselves for business gains. But it gets worse. Last week, Sophia said, Vivian asked me to hold on to some documents, said it was just backup work stuff. She looked through them. She's been moving money around, big amounts. I thanked her and hung up. Then I logged into our joint accounts. There it was. Vivian had been making large purchases, hidden under vague categories like household expenses, art designer furniture, even a new car. The down payments came from our joint account, but the main purchases? They were paid through her company's expense account, the same one I helped her set up years ago, the one where I was still listed as her financial advisor. Time to remind her what she was risking. I typed a message. Just had an interesting chat with the board about those expense reports, especially the ones from last month. The new couch looks great, by the way. Original receipts would be helpful. Her reply came in seconds. What are you talking about? I followed up. Oh, and Ezekiel's history with Carson and Mills was enlightening. 3 settlements in 2 years. That's impressive. She started typing, then stopped, typed again, stopped. Finally, Hunter, we need to talk. We will, I replied. After I finish my meeting with the ethics committee, tomorrow. Her next message showed real panic. What meeting? Hunter, please. Let's discuss this. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent Sophia's screenshots to my lawyer and began drafting an email to the board outlining my concerns about financial misconduct. I didn't hit send. Not yet. Just insurance. That night, Dahman came over to the hotel with takeout and a USB drive. You won't believe what I found, he said. He pulled up files on his laptop. Turns out Ezekiel had been recording conversations with Vivian, and not just pillow talk. We're talking detailed discussions about client accounts, confidential project timelines, and strategy leaks. He's using her, Dahman said, and she's so caught up she doesn't even see it. Meanwhile, my phone kept buzzing. Vivian had moved from panic to bargaining. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. Please don't do anything hasty. The board doesn't need to know about any of this. We can figure something out. I smiled and sent my final message of the night. Check your email in 10 minutes. Pay close attention to the attachment from March 15th. March 15th, the day she signed the partnership agreement, the one she didn't read carefully, the one that gave me significant control over her company's major financial decisions. As I write this, Vivian's been blowing up my phone. Ezekiel's name is gone from her social media. The designer couch she bought using company money, now listed for sale. Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting. Not with the ethics committee. That was a bluff. The real meeting is with someone who has a lot more to lose if Vivian's behavior comes to light. Update. Things escalated fast. This will be a quick update because everything blew up faster than I expected. That meeting I mentioned? It wasn't just about Vivian's expense reports. It was about something much bigger. When I helped Vivian land her current position 5 years ago, I did more than just make introductions. I invested heavily through a holding company name she never bothered to research. Back then, she was too excited about her promotion. She barely read the paperwork, just signed where I pointed, too focused on her new office and title. This morning, I walked into the boardroom with every receipt, every recorded conversation, every suspicious transaction from the last 3 months. But I didn't present any of it. I simply placed my shareholder voting rights on the table. The chairman raised an eyebrow. "You're the silent partner behind Morgan Holdings?" I nodded. "And I'm concerned about certain executive decisions." That's when my phone buzzed. It was Olivia, a colleague who'd been keeping tabs. Ezekiel just stormed out of Vivian's office. "She's crying." Turns out Ezekiel had a meeting of his own with his former employer's legal team. They were very interested in the confidential intel that mysteriously ended up in a competitor's hands. The timeline matched perfectly with his dinner dates with Vivian. I stayed in that boardroom for exactly 47 minutes, long enough to express concern, long enough to suggest an independent audit of executive expenses, long enough for word to reach Vivian that her silent partner, the one who owned 12% of the company, was her soon-to-be ex-husband. Then came the flood of messages. "Vivian, how long have you owned shares? Why didn't you tell me? Hunter, please, we need to talk. You're going to destroy everything I've worked for." I replied to the last one. "No, you did that. Check your email." The email included screenshots of her, texts with Ezekiel discussing company secrets, her signed partnership agreement, and a reminder of the ethics clause tied to corporate governance. Then Sophia called again. "Ezekiel dumped her," she said. "Said she's too much of a liability." Vivian tried accessing the executive accounts, but her credentials had already been suspended. "How do you know about the accounts?" Sophia asked. I didn't, answer. "I'll let Vivian figure it out on her own. After all, she said she found someone better. She just never expected her upgrade to leave her broke, exposed, and alone." "I'm the one who suggested the audit," Sophia said, her voice steady. "I saw the documents Vivian asked me to hold. I love my sister Hunter, but what she did to you, and then asking me to help hide evidence, I couldn't let it slide." That's when my phone buzzed. My lawyer. The board had reached a decision. They weren't firing Vivian, not yet. That would be too public, too messy. Instead, they were giving her a choice: resign quietly or face a full investigation into her conduct. Either way, her stock options suspended, pending review. I was getting ready to head back to the hotel when Daman texted me. "Dude, check the security cameras." I logged in. Vivian was in our house, frantically tearing through the home office. The same office where, 3 years ago, I'd installed a hidden safe behind a painting from our honeymoon in Bali. That safe? It held everything. Copies of financial documents, investment records, evidence showing how I'd helped build her career. Step by step, she found the safe. Tried every combination she could think of. Our wedding date, her birthday. The day she got promoted, wrong, wrong, wrong. The correct code, the day she signed the partnership agreement, the day she gained everything she's about to lose. My phone rang again, the chairman. "Hunter, we need to talk about the future of the company." I glanced once more at the security feed. Vivian had given up on the safe. She was sitting at my desk, head in her hands. The designer couch in the background, bought to impress. Ezekiel already showed signs of wear. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, I told him, "and I have some thoughts about restructuring the executive team." Tomorrow, Vivian would finally learn just how much power I'd had all along, not just over her career, but over every decision she thought she made independently these past 5 years. The best part? I never had to raise my voice. Never had. To make a threat. I just had to let her own choices catch up with her. Final update. 1 month later. I waited until everything was finalized before writing this. That last card I mentioned? It wasn't about the expense reports or the company shares. It was about something far more calculated. Let's start with the couch. That $112,000 designer centerpiece Vivian bought to impress Ezekiel? She didn't just use company funds. She used money from a special account, one earmarked for an upcoming merger, the same merger Ezekiel had been trying to get insider information about. But here's the twist. I knew she'd do something like this. 5. Years of marriage taught me Vivian couldn't resist showing off. So 3 months before my Seattle trip, I started laying the groundwork. Every conversation about my company's projects, every so-called confidential detail I shared over dinner, it was all misdirection. The real deals? Hidden. Behind airtight NDAs. Vivian never even knew they existed. The morning after my last update, the board called an emergency meeting. They presented Vivian with the unauthorized expenses, the leaked information, the recordings of her and Ezekiel. And then, the final blow, Sophia walked into the boardroom with a laptop and emails between Vivian and Ezekiel discussing how they'd use my position to profit from the merger, emails dated before I even left for Seattle. Sophia stood tall. I kept copies of everything, every conversation she had with me about using Hunter's access, every time she asked me to hide something. I couldn't stay silent. Vivian tried to defend herself, claimed she was manipulated. That's when Olivia stepped in. She revealed the truth. Ezekiel had been working with our biggest competitor all along. And all the info Vivian gave him, misinformation I had planted, intended to lead the competition into costly dead ends. The board's decision? Unanimous. Vivian. Terminated stock options, voided reputation, destroyed, but I wasn't done. Remember that partnership agreement she signed? The one giving me control over financial decisions? It also had another clause. If she ever violated ethical standards, it triggered an immediate review of all personal assets acquired during the partnership. The house? Purchased with a loan, I guaranteed the car. Bought through a company lease, I arranged the wardrobe. Mostly funded through corporate credit lines I helped her access by the time my legal team finished. Vivian was left with exactly what she came into the marriage with: her personal savings and a mountain of student loans I had quietly stopped paying months ago. As for Ezekiel, he vanished the moment things went south. But not before my private investigator documented everything. Every meeting, every transaction, every lie he told about his business empire and wealthy family. Last week, I received a hand-delivered envelope from Vivian. Inside, a house. Key. The same one she had made after changing the locks. And a short note. I understand now. You didn't just help build my career. You designed its self-destruct sequence. She was right. Every rung she climbed on the corporate ladder, every win she celebrated, I had made sure that one betrayal would trigger a total collapse. The couch? It was just delivered to my new office, the same corner office that used to be hers. It now sits across from my desk, a reminder. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone's world. It's letting them destroy it themselves, while they think they're winning. Yesterday, Daman asked me, was it all worth it? Spending years building that kind of backup plan? I looked around the office. The view, the silence, the absence of betrayal, and smiled. The best revenge, I told him, is when their better choice becomes their biggest mistake. I signed the final paperwork. The merger, the real one, not the decoy Vivian and Ezekiel tried to exploit, went through. Overnight, the company's value tripled. Vivian watched it all unfold from her parents' guest room, where she's been staying since everything fell apart. Her last text to me was simple. You planned this all along, didn't you? I didn't respond. Some questions don't need answers. The designer couch now sits quietly in my office, barely used, a $112,000 trophy of someone else's hubris. Sometimes the best things in life aren't free. They're just paid for by someone else's mistakes.